Welcome, my friends. Welcome to my world. I'm your host, Kevin Rutherford. It is Monday, November 28th. We are here live. We are going to open the phone lines right now. It is a free-for-all. Anything goes. If you have a question, a comment, a topic, pick up the phone and join me. We can talk about trucks, money, fuel mileage, maintenance, tires, taxes, technology, health and fitness on the road, getting started as an owner-operator, finding freight, working with brokers, getting your authority, you name it. We'll talk about it. All you have to do is pick up the phone and join us. Calls are starting to come in, so jump in right now. 855-950-3835. I'm going to get right to the calls. I did record a commentary this morning that should get posted here in the next couple of hours or so keep an eye out in the app. Mostly I talked about the possibility of a rail strike, so I'm not going to cover it really deep right now. I don't think it's going to happen. If it does, it could happen on December 9th, not that far away. I'm pretty sure Congress is going to step in. I wish they wouldn't. I hate this excuse that they're too big to fail. It will destroy our economy. Yeah, that's how free markets work. If the unions and the railroad companies and the workers can't figure out how to work together, well, then maybe they shouldn't work. Let them go on strike. Let them figure it out. Be good for trucking if they go on strike. Horrible for our economy, no doubt. It will be rough on a lot of people. But I just really wish government would stay the hell out of business. We'll see what happens. I doubt, like I said, the last time they went on strike was 1991. It lasted one day. And then Congress stepped in, and then there was a smaller part of one of the other unions in the railroad system went on strike for 2 days, and then Congress stepped in. So I doubt very much we'll see any big impact, although just leading up to those days, if there's no decision made, the railroad stops putting produce on the rail. They stop putting, most of the important stuff that has to get there, people will stop putting on the rail, just in anticipation of the strike. So we'll see what happens. The other thing that I've been paying a lot of attention to, actually spending quite a bit of time on Twitter, of all things, after ignoring them for as long as they've been around. I tried Twitter way, way back in the beginning, didn't really get it. And then I missed the fact that it had turned into a kind of a news and business platform. I stayed away from it because of the heavy censorship. All the tech companies were doing it. We've been censored and banned and deleted on YouTube, Facebook, never on Twitter because even though I had an account, it was completely inactive. I hadn't logged into Twitter in well over a decade. Probably since about the first year they were around was the last time I logged in. But now that Elon Musk took over, it is really interesting. First off, I realized I was missing a lot of good content. It's much, much easier on Twitter to follow somebody and see everything they post. You have much more control on Twitter over what you see than you ever did on Facebook, and Facebook was constantly changing how things would show up in your feed. Twitter is getting better all the time, by the way. They're working pretty hard on it. The interesting thing is I think he fired, like 75% of all the people that worked at Twitter. It's hard to keep up with some of this stuff. It's happening so fast. And yet the company seems to be working better than ever. The real shock here, though, is I don't know if it's a shock, but the left, the progressive left, is absolutely losing their mind over this because Elon Musk reinstated Donald Trump and he reinstated the Babylon Bee, and this week he'll reinstate everybody that's ever been banned and then they'll work from there, which is exactly what should happen. It's just so insane how when a sitting president was deleted from the platform and groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS still had accounts, or even Black Lives Matter, as controversial and as violent as they were, they still had an account. So it wasn't just censorship. It was very, very targeted censorship that was the problem. Now, what the right did was they complained about it a little bit, and then they went and created their own versions. Parler and several others popped up, and now that Elon Musk is there, and Elon Musk is no far right-wing radical. He's voted Democrat his entire life up until now. He's actually came out and he's supporting DeSantis for 2024 if he decides to run. But he's not a right-wing radical conservative by any stretch of the imagination. The First Amendment, freedom of speech, was a liberal talking point forever. I don't know what happened with that. But anyway, I would highly encourage you, if you're not on Twitter, give it a shot. Go back and give it another shot for a couple reasons. One, there is really good information there. And two, I think we need to support the tech platforms that are honoring free speech. If Twitter becomes popular enough, and it's growing like crazy, by the way, the activity is way up on Twitter right now. Good activity. The trick on Twitter is find the right people to follow. Then your feed becomes very interesting. I'm up to, I don't know, like 170 or 180 people I follow now. Really good information all day long. It cut my research time in half because I used to have to go find all of these articles in the news myself. Now I find about half my articles just scrolling through Twitter. The people that I follow have already found them for me. So it cuts my research time way down. But I really think we need to support any of these platforms that are willing to truly allow free speech. Balanced. Nobody targeted because of their political views. If that happens and Twitter grows, the other platforms will have to do the same. There was actually kind of a controversy going on over the weekend. These left groups are trying to pressure Apple and Google to take Twitter, the app, out of their stores so you wouldn't be able to get the app on your phone. If Google and Apple and Google and Apple did that to a couple of the companies that tried to start up Parler, I think. So as soon as that became kind of a trend, that these left groups were calling for Apple and Google to take the Twitter app out of their store, Elon Musk tweeted, if they do, he doesn't want them to, but if they do, he said he would build his own phone as an alternative. It's hard to screw with the richest man in the world. They're trying. They are coming after him hard. The Congress is calling for investigations. It's just, it's pretty insane, really. But he says if Google and Apple want to play, he'll play and he'll make his own phone. And I can honestly say, as much of a loyal Apple fan as I've been we've been as a company for a long, long time, I would switch phones. If Apple does that, I would switch phones. Now, I'm still going to use Apple products, obviously. I'm probably keep my Apple phone for whatever I needed it for, but I would support another phone platform. There's a lot of this going on right now. This is what we've spent our entire year since February, since I got booted off of SiriusXM. We've spent this entire year building our own platforms. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of expense. But in order to do what we're doing right now, to be live streaming, to have call-in shows available, to do everything, to have remote host. All of the things we're doing requires a lot of technology and software. And right now we've just hacked a bunch of stuff together. And we're using other platforms to make this work. But I don't want to depend on other platforms, so we're building our own. So if you haven't checked out Twitter lately, check it out. All right, I'm going to get to the calls. Calls are light right now, so if you want to jump in, now would be a great time. Anything goes. 855-950-3835. We're going to get started today in Louisiana. Charlie, welcome to the program.
Hey, Kevin. So I sent in an oil sample actually last week on the Power Hour, and I got bumped out because of the technical difficulties.
Yes.
So I was wondering if you could take a look at this.
Let's see if I've got it here. I believe I do. All right. We're looking at an X15. What year is this?
2018.
Okay. So are you using Catalyst?
Yes.
And
now I have been in this truck since day one. I bought it from the company after it had 300,000 miles on it. And the last four samples were pretty good.
Hold on. So the company had it for the first 300,000 miles, but you drove it. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Then you bought it, and your first sample was back in July of 2021.
Correct.
I'm assuming sample number 4 was just a mistake on the unit time.
Yeah, they forgot a 0.
Got it. Okay. So we are at 506,000 miles on the engine, about 39,000 miles on this oil. The one thing I'm noticing that has been very, very consistent is that every sample you've had has been flagged for base. This engine is really going through a lot of base.
Yes, that's what,
That's
I haven't ever had to, I haven't had to add any oil between oil changes. I've just been driving it, and I guess I need to put some bass in it.
I would put some bass because you are chronically low. You're getting under the 2 mark. This time you got under 1. You're down to 0.6 basically on bass.
Right.
Now, there's a couple things about that. 1, we want to make sure we get some bass in there to protect the engine. 2, I'm wondering why this is occurring. One of the things I might try, I would try a different oil.
Okay.
I mean,
I've just been going with what our I've just been using what the company has, which is the synthetic Delo. So.
Yeah, I would try something different.
I guess
this isn't holding up well. My first recommendation on oil is always just grab some Rotella synthetic. Just get a T6 if you want a full synthetic. Just get Rotella T6, 30 weight, and let's see if the base holds up better. If it doesn't, then you're just going to have to get on a schedule of probably adding base around 20,000 miles is when you're going to need to add some base.
Right.
Other than that, are you running Catalyst?
Yes.
Okay, so that's why the iron is high, and none of your other wear metals are anything to worry about at all. Now, this last sample, this wasn't a problem, but something went wrong on this last sample. What are you using for air filters?
That's what had me worried. Just the stock paper filter that they put in it.
How often do you change it?
Well, I don't know when the last time was they changed it. I know they monitor the little gauge that it's got on it, saying when it's
who's they?
Up,
who's they?
The shop, my company shop. I do all the service at my company.
Why would you let them make that decision?
We have well, they've been doing the maintenance on the truck since day one. So
let me tell you something about fleets and maintenance. Most fleet maintenance programs suck. They've gotten into
ours is
well, hold on. They've gotten into very bad practices because it makes sense for them. I understand why they do it. They now realize they can buy new trucks. They replace them. Almost every fleet replaces their trucks somewhere between 400 and 600,000 miles, depending on what's going on with truck prices and availability and all kinds of other factors. But they know that there's a lot of maintenance they can skip or not do it ideally, and it will never affect them. In fact, it's good for them. It's good for their bottom line. They spend less on maintenance, and it doesn't affect that truck while they own it. But it does affect the next owner, the secondary market. Typically, owner-operators like you buying these trucks from fleets, they don't maintain them well. So I wouldn't let that shop make those decisions. That you should be making the decision when to change your air filter, not them.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, actually, ours is a very small, independent company. It's a family-owned business.
I get all that. Hold on.
Before you justify
this. Don't justify it. I don't care if they're the best shop in the world. You should make those decisions, not them. They have no skin in the game.
Right.
If your oil gets dirty and you start seeing wear metals, that's not their problem. You might have the best shop manager, the best mechanic. That'll change someday, and you won't even realize it. So you should be having them do the work is fine. I love it when you've got a captive shop like that you can build a relationship and get work done. But you should know when that air filter gets changed because you should be the one deciding that. Did they review this oil sample?
No, I haven't taken it to them yet.
Well, then, yeah, you're letting people make decisions that don't even have all the information. So something went wrong with the intake system on this last sample. Typically, if they leave a filter in too long, it actually filters better. It filters better, but it's hard on the engine because it restricts airflow too much. I don't know what happened to this. If they changed it too soon, we shouldn't have seen a number this high. So somebody needs to go back in there and look. Is that air filter torn? Is the gasket in good shape? Is it seating properly? Because you're getting enough dirt that it's going to start causing problems. Your wear metals did go up slight, other than iron. We just ignore iron because of the catalyst, but chromium went up, copper went up. That could be the beginning of that dirt getting in the engine and doing damage. So we need to swap oils, see if our base holds up better. If not, you're going to have to start adding base. Something else went weird on this. Did this engine get hot at any point?
No, it's never overheated.
Yeah, your oxidation went way up too.
Yeah. Well, that might have been my APU went down, and I was actually idling the engine for about a month before I got my APU repaired.
Yeah, I don't think that's it, though, because I'm not really seeing soot didn't go up, fuel dilution didn't go up. Those are the things if we're idling too much. And most of these new engines are very, very efficient at idle. They're not using much more fuel than an APU does. They idle on very low amounts of fuel. They're not producing a lot of soot when they're idling. They're actually pretty efficient idlers, but your oxidation jumped up quite a bit. Which typically is heat-related. I mean, your oil didn't get any older. You've been doing these samples right at about 40,000 miles, so that didn't change. I would just keep an eye on that. I would switch oils the next time you change, and I would start looking to figure out where this dirt's coming from right now.
So is that where the potassium is coming from?
No, the potassium, I forgot I was going to go back to that. Since we don't have sodium, the potassium doesn't concern me. It's not a coolant leak, because if it
Okay.
did, we'd have sodium, at about the same level. My guess is you've either
Okay.
been pulling in and out of plants that use a lot of chemicals somewhere, or you've already been on roads that have been treated for ice.
Well, I'm a tanker, so I go into chemical plants all
Oh,
the time.
that's probably
That's all
why
I do.
yeah, that's why you're just picking that up out of the atmosphere somewhere. It's fairly common. We do see
Okay.
it a lot more in the winter time,
Right.
because all the stuff we put on roads is either sodium
Right.
based or potassium based. So we usually get a jump in
Okay.
one or the other for, trucks that have been on heavily treated roads. But when we only see one,
Okay.
we don't get concerned. It's not
Right.
coolant.
Okay. All right. Well, that had me worried when I saw that 414. And I go,
Yeah.
wow, what's that?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
worrisome when you see it, but as long as you don't see both, you're just picking it up out of the
Right.
atmosphere somewhere.
Okay. Well, that makes me feel much better.
Good.
So I'll see about getting some base in this thing, and then hopefully the next oil sample comes out better.
There you go. Sounds good. Give me a call when you get it, and we'll go over it.
Okay. I was just curious. Can you see my tracking on my profit gauges, or is that something I have to send you? Like,
No, what I can do, I can put you back on hold if you want, and Angie will pull up the information so I don't have to try to look for it while I'm talking. And then we'll
Okay.
bring you back on and we can go over it. No, we can do that. I'm going to put you back in the queue right now. One of the reasons we can do it is because I have no other calls. So jump in and join us. I know it's after a long holiday weekend. Everybody's tired. Lately, calls have been really, really heavy. So I really didn't prepare much today. You're either going to have to call or I'm going to have to wing it, one of the two. So pick up the phone and join me, 855-950-3835. Let me make sure Angie got that. Yes. Okay. So we've got some calls coming in. I do have the info I need to get into profit gauges here. We need to figure out an easier... Well, actually, I know we're working on this in our app. We will be able to do these kind of things much easier. Actually, we have a pretty good system for oil samples, but checking fuel gauges, checking profit gauges, some of those things are still a little cumbersome in the background. I have to try to log in, and we are setting up our new broadcast platform so that the call screener will be able to send that stuff directly to me. May even be automated. So let me see if I can figure out how to get over there. We're looking for profit gauges. I have to. It's been a while. Oh, here we go. I remember how to do this. It's actually been a while. There we go. We can do that, and that. And then let me get to some reports. Our system really is good. All right, I'm going to go back to the phones. Looks like calls are starting to come in, but I am going to go back to Charles in Louisiana. Charles, we did manage to pull that up. What do we want to look at here?
Well, I just wanted to let people know that there's still plenty of work out here. You look at what I've been doing.
Yeah.
You look at what I've been doing. I haven't been doing too bad for a year.
Actually, I'm looking at your reviews here. It looks pretty darn awesome. Holy cow! $1.90 profit per mile. $1.90.
Right.
That is. You know, I still remember times when, and we may get back to this. I don't know if we'll get down. There was a time, it wasn't unusual, you had to make do on $1.90 in gross revenue. You're doing that in profit. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a really good sign.
Well, that's all I wanted to. I just wanted to let people know that it is possible if you watch your numbers.
Is
I mean,
that,
I know my cost of fuel, and I've had a lot of expenses, but still, I'm making really good money.
Yeah, absolutely. The numbers look fantastic. And is that your truck?
Yes, I showed it to you at the Louisville.
That's
Truck Show
right.
this year.
Yeah, I remember. That's why it caught my. It's a beautiful truck, by the way. Love that design.
Thank you.
I actually, I'm kind of designing, remodeling, and redesigning the studio because we want to start doing more video. And what I
Right.
really want behind me, I want old barnwood. I want to cover the whole wall behind me in old barnwood, and then I want a graphic almost identical to yours. Kind of, I want the wood whitewashed, and then I want that graphic put on it. I think that's gorgeous.
Cool. That'd look great.
Yeah, that would.
Obviously, I like it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Fantastic. All right, good stuff. Call me back when you
right,
get that
thank
next
you.
sample. You're welcome. We'll take a look at that and see
will.
what we can figure out. Calls are starting to come in. Let's go to Connecticut. Danny, welcome to the program.
Hey, good morning, Kevin.
What's on your mind today?
Yeah, this past week turned out pretty good for me. I'm originally from Massachusetts, and my mom, sister, and brother are still up here. And I got me a pretty good load, 20 miles from home, came up here, and so I got to spend it with Thursday. We're at my sister's with a bunch of other people, and
Oh, good.
and picked this load up. I had a reload coming out. Now, getting out of Massachusetts for $3 a mile is pretty dang good.
Yeah, it is.
Going, so, and I did 340 coming up for
Nice.
which flatbed, and wasn't any weight, so, but I don't get to visit all that much, so you got to look at that part of it too.
Oh, absolutely. And when you can make that kind of money to go visit somebody, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I ordered some of your that mushroom coffee and the hot chocolate.
Okay.
The hot chocolate was more or less for the wife there, but she read the ingredients there, and she didn't like the coconut sugar. How much is in there? Because she's following Dr. Berry's.
Tiny
I figured
amounts.
It wasn't a lot.
Here's the way you can tell. Just drink it. It has zero sweetness. I mean, there's a little bit of coconut sugar in there because raw cacao is so bitter. I mean, if you've ever tried, when you start eating dark chocolate and people start off with like 70% dark and think that it's bitter. Get up to 90% once and try it. And then I've eaten chocolate that is made from 100% cacao. It is brutal. I mean, it is really, really, it not only is it bitter, but there's no depth to it at all. I mean, the flavors are almost flat.
Yeah.
It needs a little bit of sugar.
85 is...
Yeah,
85 is my limit.
Exactly. So so imagine now when on that label it says raw cacao on that drink, that's 100%. That's pure cacao. You know what that's going to taste like. It tastes awful. Most people won't drink it. I think they did an amazing job. One, using coconut sugar because it has minerals, and coconut sugar is not very sweet. It's not as high in carbs, and they're using a very small amount. The benefits. Look, I drink just I drink 2 to 3 packets of that a day most days.
Dang.
Yeah,
All
the
right. Well,
reishi that's in there has been just amazing for me. That was the predominant adaptogen when I worked with Danielle. That was the one she wanted me to really focus on. So I did. I have the coffee that has reishi in it. I have the hot chocolate that has reishi in it. I have an elixir that has reishi in it. And the changes have been pretty incredible. I would not worry about a little bit of coconut sugar.
well, I don't, but she's, anyway, Dr.
Well,
Berry does his
Let me say
Facebook,
this.
YouTube.
Yeah. I would rather her do. I would rather her be afraid of small amounts of sugar than be the opposite. So I'm not going to criticize her for just staying away from sugar completely. It's not going to hurt anything, that's for sure. So it's really not that bad of a thing for her to say, no, there's a little bit of sugar, I'm just not doing it.
Yeah. Another thing. Market Basket. It's up here in the Northeast grocery chain. I stopped in. I'm like, let me see if they got any beef heart. They actually had a whole beef kidney.
Oh boy, that is the one organ meat I just can't
And it
do.
was cheap, like
it's cheap because nobody wants
for
it.
this big.
I know. That's because nobody wants it. If you didn't grow up English in Britain somewhere, you're probably not going to deal very well with kidney. I can handle liver. Heart is no problem at all. I've eaten gonads and, every organ just about in the animal. I tried kidney one time. I couldn't do it. Cleaning it was bad enough. I was gagging. It smells exactly what you think a kidney would smell like. And it tastes just like that, too. I've tried everything. I just can't do it.
Liver is kind of like mushy because it's not a muscle, but the kidney is. To me, it kind of has I only took a few bites of it because I only cooked a small little piece. What I was going to do is grind it up and mix it with hamburger.
That would work.
And see if I can.
Although I have a
eat
feeling
it that away, but
I have a feeling you will dilute the smell, but you won't get rid of it completely.
I figured for $2.69 for a couple of pounds or whatever it was. It's not a lot of money.
Well, and you may find that you like it. I mean, it may work. The English eat kidney pie, and they seem to like it. I tried
beef heart
it. I love beef heart. Heart. Most people don't realize heart is like a good lean cut of steak. That's what heart is, exactly like a good lean cut of steak, almost like it's pretty darn close to a New York strip.
I can get that at home at Ingles, which is another grocery chain down in the Southeast. And again, it's already cut up. And it's cheap, it's like $1 something for a pack. And I'm like, I'd buy every pack they got sitting there.
Yeah. Heart makes the best jerky.
Like a steak.
Yeah, or just cook it like a good lean steak. Leave it very rare when I eat it. I like my steaks very rare. So I only bring it up to about 120, maybe 125. One of the best ways to do it is sous vide.
What is that?
So,
I heard you say that. I don't.
Yeah, that's actually the way we started cooking the yogurt, because we found it was the best way to do. I've been using sous vide for well over a decade. So the way you cook in sous vide is you put your food inside some sort of a container. A lot of people use those, they seal it into plastic bags with a food sealer. I don't like that because I don't want my food cooking in plastic like that. So I did get, I got silicone bags, and you don't seal them. You don't suck the air out of them and seal them. They're just reusable silicone bags. So you don't have any plastic or any weird chemicals to leach out. And you just put the food in the bag. Then you put the bag in the water. And then you stick your sous vide machine. They look like towers. And you just stick that in. You clip it onto the container, whatever container you're putting water in. And you can set a very precise temperature down to like tenths of a degree. So you set the sous vide for whatever temperature you want your steak. So if you want your steak rare, 125 to 130. I like really rare, so I go to 120. And you just stick it in there and you let it. You can start it off frozen. It works just fine to start with frozen. Just takes a little longer. It will take about an hour to get a frozen steak up to that 120 degrees. But if you left it in there for 3 hours, it doesn't hurt anything. Nothing changes because it's never going to get hotter than 120 degrees. So then you take it out and you have a perfectly cooked steak. And then I sometimes I'll just use my kitchen torch and I'll sear the outside of the steak, or sometimes I'll just throw it in a screaming hot cast iron with a little bit of ghee, and I'll sear the outside like that. It's a great way to cook meat.
I like cast iron.
Yeah, I love finishing in cast iron.
I do most.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, on that phone call with Dr. Wilson's assistant there, and I ordered. She had recommended a bunch of their supplements, which I'd ordered, and then their blood tests. She sent me 3 different types of tests, and they range from like 500 to 900 for blood tests. Now, some of them I had already done, like some of the I guess toxic metals, and
Okay.
I got to figure out if I can just do some of them, but I don't know. I'm a little leery about spending all that money for some blood tests and find out what I already know. There was some macronutrients and stuff like that. That some of the tests I've already done with a different lab. I know they want to do their labs, but what do you recommend?
So, do you have a specific problem you're trying to solve, or you just want to feel better overall?
Blood pressure. My blood pressure.
Okay, so you've been doing all the right stuff, and your blood pressure still won't come down.
It's erratic.
Okay, that's actually actually more. Now, let me ask you this: is it erratic if you test consistently? And what I mean by that is, we could treat this when we have a blood pressure issue. We should treat it the way we treat blood sugar. We should always do a fasting. First thing in the morning, blood pressure. We should sit down with our feet flat on the floor, our arms supported on arms of a chair, and we should sit quietly for about 5 minutes. Don't talk, don't move around.
Right.
And then take it. And if you're doing that and you're getting very inconsistent results, then we've got a problem. We need to go figure out what it is. If you're just saying it's inconsistent because one time you check it in the morning and then the next time you check it after you got out of a hot shower, or just when it's going to be all over the board. I mean, it's a lot like blood sugar. It can be all over the place. We have to be consistent in the way we test. So is that what you're saying? No matter how consistent,
way too high.
It's way too high. Okay. Then here's my answer.
150, 160 over 110.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you've got to get this under control. I would do all of the blood work. I know when I had the problem I was trying to solve, all my joint pain came back. I spent almost $2,500 on lab work before I finally figured out what my problem was. Sometimes if you didn't have a problem, a specific problem, if you're just saying, no, I think I could be a little healthier. Well, yeah, let's not go do all that work and spend all that money. But when you've got a serious medical issue, and this is, We don't take high blood pressure lightly, and yours is elevated. And it shouldn't be. I know the way you eat. I know the things you do. Your blood pressure should not look like that. So, yeah, I would just do the blood work.
See, I checked it Sunday at my mom's there. It was 144/88. I checked it the next day, and it was up to 155/105.
Now, when you checked that,
no
were
reason
you
it should have gone up?
You were relatively calm, and you were doing it correctly, right? And you would have to be doing it really wrong to get a number that high. So, yeah, that's a concern.
No, yeah, and there's no
pattern.
There's no pattern.
No
That's
pattern.
The word.
Right.
It's not.
That makes it harder.
It's not inactivity.
Right.
It's not
Right.
activity. It is right.
If there was a
aggravating
pattern,
because it's
right.
like you do everything right, and this is like this here.
We
So
may find
that's
out.
That's why I called Dr. Wilson.
Yeah, and this is why you do have to do more of a deep dive. You have to do more blood work. We may find out that this is some sort of heavy metal. It may be a mold of some kind. Aspergillus seems to be really, really common these days. The aspergillus was part of my problem. And I did find some heavy metals. My guess is you're going to be high on aluminum. So you may want to start. I stopped using aluminum foil. Does not touch my food anymore. I don't cook in many aluminum.
I don't use it either.
Yeah, I don't cook in many aluminum pans or pots. I don't use any deodorants that have aluminum in them. Almost everybody we test for metals shows high on aluminum. It's just everywhere in our environment anymore. So it could be a heavy metal, could be a mold toxin of some kind. But this is serious, and I would just do the blood work. I would just do it till you figure out what this is.
All right. I'll let you go, and we'll talk at you maybe later this week.
All right.
Thanks, Kevin.
Sounds good. Let's go to Tennessee. Brandy, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Kevin. It's more or less it's commentary about the power of the show. And speaking of commentary, just reminded myself, I really enjoy that segment. I thought of a different name. How about Kevin Terry?
Kevin Terry.
But, yeah. Then also, you had a store, well, you talked about you were at a grocery store and you had overheard somebody talking about their health and you decided to say something. Well, this is kind of what my Thanksgiving weekend or time was. As I'm standing there listening to people talk in my family, and I'm thinking about the show of the things you've said, and I want to say these things to get them to think differently. And one was about the fat, and it's like, no, that fat's good for you. No, we want the fat. Another one was everybody seemed to want Tums for anti-acid, and I'm thinking, there's a store I know that can help you. One of my family members is an owner operator, and it's like, do you listen to podcasts? He didn't have a headset, so I have 2 headsets, and I gave him one. And I tried to, how much can you push them into a direction where they can get help? I'm the kind of person that will invest my own money to help other people, but I have to see that that's what they want
Absolutely.
to do. And there's some results that are happening, but this entire Thanksgiving week is just basically being alert to what people say and knowing there are answers. I got somebody asked me to comment on a diet thing. Well, that's all well and good, but if you don't change your diet, it ain't going to work.
Yeah.
And so
go ahead.
It's just the power of this show of how it's affecting me and the way I think, but I'm more open to open my mouth and say something. It just a lot of times I tumble over my own tongue. So it's just commentary. It's of this show and its power.
Well, thank you. And I hope we can keep increasing that reach and that power. And, the fat thing still just amazes me how hard it is to get this to die. Just recently, Twitter has opened me up to a lot of people that I just wouldn't see or hear what they were saying. And no matter what topic it is, whether it's health or politics or money, whatever topic I'm interested in, what's really working well for me on Twitter is I can follow people on both sides. And I wasn't getting much of that when all I did was scroll news feeds. I have news aggregators that, they look for news and pull it in. But on Twitter, it's not news. It's just what people are saying and commenting on. And I follow both. So I follow all these vegans and vegetarians and doctors who still prescribe the low fat, high fiber, low calorie diet. And it's just amazing to me that there is so much evidence against this. There's so much evidence supporting the more fat and protein you eat, the healthier you're going to be. I mean, it is so clear when you see all these examples. Now, they just had a debate this week. It was on TV. I think it was on BBC or it was on one of those English, British channels. And they had two doctors, one who is basically a proponent of carnivore, and the other who is a heavily influenced vegan, who's been a vegan for a long time and pushing veganism for a long time. These types of debates, I think, are almost a waste of time. They're really hard to do. It's hard to get your points across. The vegan doctor used the heart health study from the early 90s, Dr. Dean Ornish. And they still claim that is the only diet that was ever proven to reverse heart disease. They claim they took people that had heart disease, and when they followed this protocol, their heart disease improved, and it did. But here's the problem with it. They keep saying it was a diet intervention. The diet intervention was 10% or less of your calories from fat, and it was a vegetarian diet. That is really, really restrictive. First off, I would be starving all day long on a diet like that. I would just be miserable. I've tried it. But here's the thing. It wasn't the diet. We know enough to know the diet didn't do this. Well, what did? Well, there were 5 total things that these people had to change. And this only followed like 400 and some men, and only 300 and some actually finished. So these were really small numbers. But they were smokers. They had to stop smoking. They had to start exercising every day. They had a list of 5 major changes in their life that was a part of this protocol, and yet all they talk about now is, this is the only diet that's ever been proven to reverse heart disease. Well, I'm pretty sure if we did that same study with a really well-designed carnivore or keto diet, you would see the same results, and you wouldn't have to do all the other stuff. It wouldn't require any exercise. But that debate, really, if you were watching it and you believed in veganism, you still believe in veganism. If you watched it and you were a carnivore, you'd still be a carnivore. I don't think these things change anybody's mind.
One of the things I think I got from all of listening, or of the conversations I had, is everybody wants just a pill to make it go away without doing any hard work. And
if that's their attitude,
say, do the hard work.
Yeah. If that's their attitude, you said you will go as far as spending your own money to help people. I think that's awesome. When you run up against somebody with that attitude, you should probably just move on. You at least need to find. Well, I know, But what are you going to do? You know, I'm the youngest of seven.
Persistence.
I'm the youngest of seven in my family. So I'm watching all of my elder siblings get sick with all the same things, you know, everybody gets sick with: diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease. I've already lost my oldest sister. And I've never really tried to help them with this until this last time I was back, and they were really, really open to hearing it. They weren't looking for a quick answer. They weren't looking for a pill to fix things. In fact, they were tired of pills. And they really wanted to hear it. And it was, you know how much I can talk about this stuff. I talked about it day after day after day while I was there. The good news is it stuck. Not with everybody, but several people in my family have turned their diabetes around, which is awesome. And they're sticking with it. So sometimes it's just timing, but I would say when somebody's just looking for an easy way out or a pill, it's not even the time to try talking to them at that point.
Well, it could be like your own testimony of your own health. Can
You could always do that. Yes. Yeah.
You could be this way too.
That's when they you know, like you said, they don't want to hear that they have to give up bread and pasta. And that's what freaks them out. And here's the thing. I understand they've given up so many things before. They've given up fat. They've given up, you know, meat a lot of times. They've given up eggs. They've given things up, and it hasn't helped their health at all. In fact, it gets worse. So when they hear, no, you have to give something up, they don't want to do it because nothing they've ever tried has worked.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy that what we really have to give up, what it really comes down to, all of the foods we talk about that you have to either give up, restrict, minimize, they're all plants. You know, it started with grains. We realized how bad grains were across the board, and when people quit grains, within a couple of days, they start feeling better. That one is, if you can get somebody to do it for 72 hours sometimes, they can actually see a difference. But then we went on to, oh, well, there are still plants that are pretty high in carbohydrates. You know, maybe we should minimize those. Then, oh, you know, there are plants with phytates, and that causes problems. We better minimize those. Now oxalates are a huge issue. What happens is we keep eliminating more and more plant foods from our diet because they cause problems. The more plant foods we give up, the healthier everybody seems to be.
Yeah.
And yet, the other side, the other extreme to this is they are pushing nothing but plant foods.
Yeah, I noticed like in Walmart and some of the grocery stores, there's now the vegan section is getting bigger.
Yes.
It's taking over.
Yeah. And all the fake meat is made from plants.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I have never really found a healthy, strong, vibrant vegan. They're always weak. They're always weak and pale, and they're always fighting some sort of an issue. It's so obvious. And I've talked about this the other day. We have lots of people who have switched from being a vegan or a vegetarian. I was one of them. I tried the vegetarian thing too. I think most people that have been interested in health at some point in their life probably get conned into trying the whole vegetarian thing because we were so brainwashed. I was one of them. It was a long time ago for me, but the stories of some of our best practitioners, Chris Kresser, Dave Asprey, lots of those people went through this. They did the vegetarian thing and got
It doesn't fill
worse.
you, though.
It's not satisfying.
It gives you an empty stomach.
Yeah, you're hungry all the time. You're constantly eating. You're constantly thinking about food. You're constantly making sure you have food available. It's a miserable existence, and we did it because we were convinced it was going to make us healthier. And in the beginning, it does, because you're coming off such a horrendous diet. Now, I've threatened a couple times, just as an experiment, to go back and eat vegan for a month, or even vegetarian, even if I didn't go complete vegan.
Why?
I just want to see, like I said, the first time I did it, the first 6 months, I felt better. That's what kind of convinces you that, oh, no, this is the right thing to do. I feel better. I lost some weight. I did feel better for a while because I was coming off such a horrendous diet. Now I have a feeling that within a week of trying it, I would feel horrible. I don't think it would take months this time. I think I would realize pretty quickly how bad this really is.
I'm coming up to my next stop. Thanks, Kevin, for taking my call.
All right. Good talking to you. Let's go to Ohio. Herschel, welcome to the program.
Hey, Kevin.
What's on your mind today?
Well, I bought another truck. And
Yes.
me being consistent, I have trouble with it now.
Nothing major, I hope.
In my opinion, it's pretty major. Driving back up through West Virginia 2.5 weeks ago, coasting down a hill, boom, check engine light comes on. I saw, oh, man. Normally, that truck does 32 PSI of turbo boost. It would only do 16, running a half power. Now, it would go full blast road speed. It'd take a while to get there, but it would do full blast road speed, but it only had half of its turbo power. I thought, oh, boy. So I took it to the Volvo Mac place in London, Ohio, there outside of Columbus.
Now, this is
And I told them,
this is a TC engine, correct?
it is not. It's a VGT.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right, go ahead.
So I told him what it was doing, and I said, while you have it, check the fifth wheel. It doesn't act correctly to me. This one, I looked at it. I don't know how to adjust this one. I usually do it myself. They said they would. The first diagnosis call that I got was the fifth wheel's bad. You can't adjust it, and we can't get it. We have to order it straight from Holland, and it'll be $3,100. I said, you have got to be kidding me.
How many miles are on this truck?
566.
So I would have to either call that a manufacturer's defect or this truck had some of the worst drivers ever. I've just never seen fifth wheels really fail like that.
Yeah, no kidding. I told the guy at the dealer, I said, give me 15 minutes. Let me make some calls. I found it 3 different places. I found it for $1,100. So I drove I drove the pickup truck to Columbus. I got the fifth wheel and all the stuff they needed and drove it out and dropped it off. A day later, I got another diagnosis call of what was wrong with the engine part. And they say we need to open the rocker box to verify. I said, okay, what do you mean? They said, well, it's either a fuel injector or a, believe it or not, spun cam lobe on number 6 cylinder. I said, how does the cam lobe spin? It's a solid piece of steel.
So let's go back. Let's go back a second. Do you also have a pyrometer?
Okay. I do.
So did your highest EGT go down as well?
It did, actually.
Okay.
It did. Normally, it'll run in the 7.5 to 8 range at the most, normally, because I drive so easy.
Right.
But when it was doing the 16 PSI thing, yeah, it would barely make it to 5.
Okay, so that does point us to fuel. So they're looking in the right place.
Yeah, that points you to fuel. I said, well, open her up and see what you find.
Yeah.
So they did. They called back. They said, well, I got good news and bad news. I said, Dave, which one do I want first? He said, I really don't know. So he said, the good news is your injector's all right. And I said, well, okay. I said, tells me that you're going to tell me that the cam's bad. He said, yes. I said, David, how does a camshaft spin a lobe? Somebody in their infinite wisdom decided to make camshafts as a modular. The center part is a solid shaft, and then the lobes, depending on what horsepower, what duration, what RPM, and all those ratings and torque and all that good stuff, what lobe goes on the cam to get the proper lift, as you know. And they just press the lobe on. I said, well, how does that last? He said, well, obviously it doesn't. Yours has got a spun lobe on number 6.
Well, you know, this
You've got
is
to be kidding me.
this is a conversation I'd love to get Joel involved with. I've never heard of this being an issue.
Yeah, and they tell me that Volvo is not the only manufacturer that does this modular cam idea.
Yeah,
So I
and,
said, well,
and it's typically not a problem. I mean, that this isn't...
well,
according to, me getting calls about it, or, Pittsburgh Power, I mean, this issue has never come up on any engine.
well, the thing of it is, when talking to this guy, really nice guy, seems like he knows what he's talking about. He said, no, this is a very common from, I believe he said model years 17 through 19, I think he said. And they supposedly made the camshaft a little better. I said, well, do you have it? And he said, we do not, but we will have it in the morning.
Okay.
So I took him for his word last. He would have it in the morning. Well, by the end of the week, last week, he still did not have it. Now the warehouse says they don't know when they'll ever get it.
Well, he never
Oh, my
said
God.
which morning. He just said the morning.
Yeah, no kidding. So
Well, that
I said,
sucks.
well, David, I'm going to do some searching. I'm going to see if I can find it on my own. So I start digging, and I asked him, I said, well, you're a Volvo dealer. Can you look in the parts world out in the stratosphere and see what Volvo dealer has it? I'll drive and go get it. If
Right.
it's not too terribly far, I'll have it shipped, whatever. Well, we can't do that at this dealership. Okay. So I start calling around. Go ahead.
Hey, I was just going to say, you're dealing with the frustration I had forever with Volvo. And I know they're trying to make it better, but after a couple decades, I wish they would have gotten a little further on that project. This was always my biggest problem, dealers and parts.
Yeah. So I was in North Carolina for the Thanksgiving weekend at the daughter's house. So I thought, well, while I'm down here, if I can find the thing, I'll just go pick it up, drive it back with me. So I called several places. One guy in particular, he didn't have it, but he said, well, let me look in the Volvo parts, interior parts locator or something, he called it. And all right. So he starts looking because the one that has the truck give me the part number for the cam and cam bearing kit. So I had the part number, and he dug it up, and he said, well, hey, I found you once not too far away, because I told him where I live. And I said, well, where's that? And he said, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a place called Trans Edge, shows that they have one. I said, I'll call them Monday morning.
That's not far. Yeah.
It was too late. Yeah. I tried to call them, and they weren't open Saturday. So I called this morning. Sure enough, he does have one. And so I paid him for it. And I says, what's it going to cost me to ship it to London, and how fast can you do it? Or should I get in the pickup truck? And he dug around. He said $150. It'll be there tomorrow, Wednesday at the worst. I said, ship it for $100. I'll burn $100 worth of fuel to go
Exactly.
get it.
Yeah.
So I find it. I call the Volvo dealer that has the truck, told him that I found it. And I said, so now I'm going to have a refund, because if your bill is above $1,500 at that dealer, you have to bring them a down payment of at least half of the bill.
Okay.
Well, my estimate was $10,000 before the fifth wheel.
Holy cow.
Yeah, so when it's all said and done, I'm going to have around 11 or 12 grand in it with fifth wheel. And of course, they want to go ahead and do an oil change and service. Why not? Because I don't know when it was done last. Now they're going to have the engine open.
Yeah.
I I'm telling you, I'm beginning to think
So-
Murphy's Law is in order.
Yeah,
in
so
Philadelphia.
I'm going to make a note for Friday's show. But if you think about it, I'd love to have you call back when we've got Joel here. We can find out more about this.
Yeah, so I asked the guy that has the truck, that dealer that has the truck. I said, so this new camshaft that I'm getting, he said, yeah. I says, is the one that I have in there made from pop can cams in Bangladesh, and now you're going to send me one that's U.S. steel that is one piece, and I don't have to worry about this again?
Of course not.
And he says, well, no, they're still modular. I said, well, why did they do this? He said to save 3 pounds and 0.0001% in economy for fuel. I said, I'll give up that. You can't even measure that. Give me a solid steel cam.
So it sounds to me like really the reason for this is the same reason we started with waste-gated turbos. So when engine manufacturers used to have multiple horsepower ratings on the same engine, each horsepower rating required a different turbocharger, and it's really expensive to build and stock and ship and handle 3 turbochargers for the same engine when you can just have one and put a wastegate on. But it's a horrible solution for us. We'd rather have a non-wastegated turbo. Now, instead of building a whole bunch of different cams for different, performance and efficiency, this horsepower, that torque, they build one cam and then they can slap different lobes on it.
Yeah, I said, well, so the new one, what was changed? And he said, you'll never have the problem again. I said, well, tell me why.
Right.
Why won't I have that problem again? Well, they've changed the design. I said, well, is it still modular? He said, no. I said, okay, so you're telling me that they've got a welder somewhere in the back room tack welding the lobes and grinding them down a little bit, and then they're throwing them on some kind of a balance machine to make sure it's not going to break the top of the head apart when you put it in there. He said, well, I don't know, but that could be. And that he had no solution other than that. That was it.
All right.
So I guess the moral to the story,
go ahead.
If your truck's at a dealer and they say it's national back ordered, they can't get it, there is a high likelihood that it's a dealer like this one that will not search other dealers and go beyond the realm, because he wouldn't even do, when I called the guy in Pennsylvania, he said, well, I'll just do a dealer-to-dealer swap of the part, just send it to them.
Right.
It's all the same corporation, Mac.
Yeah, right.
And the guy in Pennsylvania called me. He said they would not do that, this particular dealer. He said some of them won't. I said, but you're representing and taking care and service of the same product, Volvo Mac. Who cares whose franchise dealer it is? It's still Volvo Mac.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. They will not. So I guess if you hear like the one boxes, national back order, well, maybe you
Go
dig
look
around like that. Is that true?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, to me, the odds of there being absolutely zero of that part in this entire country are slim to none. It's out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Somewhere out there is that part. Can you find it? That's the real trick. And depending on other people to go find it, probably isn't going to work. You're going to have to develop these skills yourself.
What was really ironic, the guy in North Carolina that told me where I could find the part in Pennsylvania, he says, I see 16 in the United States, somewhat close to you. But he said, here's the funny part. And he starts laughing. I said, what's that? He said, I see 32 of them in Canada. I said, well, they're not using them. Tell them to send us down.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I don't know. That's probably a customs thing, and it would triple in price, and who knows. Oh, the other part that's really funny, the guy in Pennsylvania, with his price and his shipping and sales tax, I don't have a form filled out for over there, right, to get out of sales tax.
Right.
He still is $400 less on everything for that cam kit than the guy in London that's an hour and a half up the road.
I know. Doesn't surprise me.
Oh,
That
that's crazy.
we've even talked about this on the air that if you live in an area where you don't have a good Volvo dealer that you can work with and you had a good Freightliner dealer, then I lean towards the Freightliner. Volvo's my first choice, but some of their dealers are just awful, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I had that deal with the guy where I bought the truck, and for general purpose maintenance and diagnostics, they've been really good. They have whenever something's popped up.
Good.
But this went over their head. Yeah, this is over our head. You got to go to.
Yeah,
go to Volvo.
After saying that, I do have to say the worst experience I ever had owning trucks was a Freightliner dealer. That was the absolute worst. I almost ended up in court with them. It was so bad. That was over that damn transmission, that Meritor transmission. But for the most part, I had given up on Volvo dealers completely. That was when I was buying new Volvo trucks and I would not even use the warranty. If I had something like a wheel seal leaking under warranty, I would not use the warranty. I took it to my shop instead and paid for it.
Wow. Well, you mentioned Freightliner. I bought a truck off of a Freightliner dealer. It was a KW, but still. And I told him, I said, guys, that clutch isn't right. It needs another clutch. I'm telling you. Well, no, it's not. It's okay. The shop checked it. I said, if I drive this truck and it goes out, you're putting a clutch in on your nickel. And I made him put it on the papers.
Yeah.
I drove it one day, come to a site, couldn't put it in gear. It was totally gone. Clutch brake and all.
Unbelievable.
You had to shut it off, put it in gear, do the trick.
Yeah.
So I took it back, and it took them 2 weeks to put a clutch in, and that's because it was on their nickel.
Of course. Yeah, exactly. Right. That's the other problem with warranty. Nobody likes to do warranty work because all those rates they charged you get cut in half when they have to do that work for the factory. When they have to do it under warranty, they can't get away with those prices. They are told exactly how much that job is going to pay, and that's all they get paid.
Uh-huh. Yep. You got it. Well, the medical system's no better. My son got sick. He has no insurance. He's a grown-up now.
Yep.
We take him to the hospital. They check him out. Well, do you have insurance? He says no. They bring him back an invoice, a statement of what it's going to cost. So, well, since you're a self-pay, we'll give you half off.
I know.
Like, really?
Wait a minute. If you can afford to do all this for half off, that's what you should be charging the insurance company too.
Exactly.
I know that all that kind of stuff just, makes me a little insane. It just, I need to ask this question more because I don't know if this is still the case or not. So when I used to work in a body shop, and I managed a body shop for a little while as well, we worked on flat rate. And what that meant was you estimated the job. So, then that was my job. Once I was a manager, I did all the estimates. So you'd come out, you'd look at the car, you'd say, okay, it's going to take, half hour to replace that part. It's going to take 3 hours to do this. It's going to take an hour and a half to paint it. This job pays 13 and a half hours. And the mechanic got paid 13 and a half hours when he finished that job. It didn't matter if it took him 5 or 50. You still got paid the flat rate that job was booked at. Now, I loved that. I was working 40 hours and getting paid for 65 most weeks when I was in the shop working. Now, if you screw something up and it comes back, that's all your time now. You don't get you don't get paid to do it again. So you have to balance how fast you work with how good you work. But good mechanics on flat rate can make a lot of money in a, relatively short week, a 40-hour week. But on the other hand, the last thing I ever wanted to do was warranty work. When a car came in and, our buddy Paul, the car hauler, when he scratched a car, that was the last job I wanted to do because it only paid what the factory would pay you. And it was barely enough. If everything went perfect, you might be able to get that job done close to the amount of time they paid you for. Usually, you always went over on warranty work. So mechanics hate it. I don't know if most truck mechanics are on that these days or not.
Well, I think that you need to have another segment, and you can call it like Paul's Pick or something. And just Paul's the guest. The guy is hilarious. You got to get him on there longer. He is.
He is good. There's no doubt. You know, he has an advantage, though. It's that damn accent.
Oh, I know it.
You know, there's just something about the accent just makes everything funnier or smarter or something. I don't know what that is.
Well, let's face it. You can go to Atlanta, Georgia, and find a girl that looks like Miss Piggy, but if she sounds like the Southern Belle, oh, man, a puppy full of freight train. Woo-ah.
I don't think you're allowed to say she looks like Miss Piggy. That's not very politically correct.
I really don't care.
I know. But it's true. You're absolutely right.
I'll let you alone and get to somebody else. So if you get told they don't have the part, just go check for yourself. There's
good
a chance
advice
it's somewhere.
Good advice.
Yeah, it's somewhere.
All right.
All right, bud.
Talk to you soon. Let us know how that goes.
All right.
Let's head off to Missouri. Dale, welcome to the program.
Hey, Kevin.
What's on your mind today?
My wife's she's going through menopause right now.
Okay.
And the other day when you had that special on the Cardio Miracle, I went ahead and bought a couple types of mushroom coffee.
Okay.
I got the can't remember the two of them. I think one might have been for more relaxing you, and the other one was for wellness, I guess, maybe.
It could be.
What's the three that you have? Do you know?
So you got the mushroom instant coffee, right?
Actually, I'm not quite sure if it's instant or not. Maybe it's
Yeah, so the difference is they have instant coffee in packets with the mushrooms and everything in it. You just open the packet, put it in your cup, put in hot water, and you have coffee. The other option is you actually buy a bag of coffee, and it looks just like a bag of coffee, and it's coffee grounds or whole bean, and you grind it or you put it in your coffee maker and you make coffee, and it has the mushrooms in it as well. Do you know which one it was?
Yeah, actually, I don't. To be honest with you.
Okay.
But
so in the instant coffee, it comes in 3 varieties. So we have it with ashwagandha, which is for balance. We have it with chaga, which is kind of immune and defense. And we have it with lion's mane, which is really good for your brain and thinking.
I think it was defense and balance.
Okay.
What I got.
Okay.
But our doctor went ahead and gave her. He prescribed her some hormones. He wants her to take them.
Oh, that's a bad idea.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's a bad idea.
Kind of wanting to get her to.
It almost
call
never
in and
works.
Talk to you about it.
Yeah, hormones are I think beyond our ability to really manage externally. I've seen a lot of practitioners who specialize in it. It's all they do. I've seen some who use what are called bioidentical hormones. So they're not, harsh pharmaceuticals. They're closer to the natural hormone. I've never, and here's the other problem with this approach, in my opinion. Why are the hormones out of balance to begin with? If we give hormones to attempt to put them back into balance, which is a really difficult thing, aren't we just covering up the root cause of the problem?
Right.
So even if it works,
So I think I'm going to.
when do you stop? Do you have to do this the rest of your life? And if we do, it's a bad idea. Lots and lots of things can go wrong with hormones. So I think the better approach is let's figure out why the hormones are out of balance and solve that problem.
Right. So what I was wanting to do with her is she won't be able to listen to the show per se, but she's an office manager. She manages like 450 properties, so she's very, very, very busy. But she gets an hour for lunch every day. I was going to forward the contact for the show to her and have them.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Visit with you about it.
Yeah,
because I think that'll end up with her doing a discovery call and
you know what I would
figured out. But
you know what I would try before we even did a discovery call. I talked about this the other day. You know, if we had a really, really good practitioner with adaptogens, and I haven't found one yet. We had Danielle, but she's taken on a new role over at Four Sigmatic, and she's really, really busy. Without having somebody who's good enough at adaptogens to take somebody like your wife, do a consultation with them, figure out exactly which adaptogens are going to work best. That's what Danielle did for me. That's difficult. I'm still reading and researching and trying to see if we'll get to that point or not. Maybe we will, or maybe I'll find a good practitioner I can hand people off to. But I have a solution, and it works. I kind of did it after I went through Danielle's protocol just to see. So the interesting thing about all adaptogens is they are like self-balancing. They're self-regulating. You know, we talk a lot of times about nutrients that have a sweet spot. Like if you take this much vitamin D and keep your level here, that's excellent. But if you take too much, you could start to see these issues. And almost every nutrient is like that. You know, men have to watch out. I know we're, carnivores and eating a lot of protein. We have to watch our iron. We don't have any way of getting rid of iron. So we've got to watch that we don't get an iron overload. A lot of nutrients are like that. We have to balance and regulate the amount of them through our diet. Adaptogens are self-regulating. If you take too much of them, nothing bad happens. Your body will only use the amount that it needs. So knowing that,
I remember you talked about that pretty extensively the other day. You literally can't overdose on it.
Right. So
basically,
we have if we have a case like this where when hormones are out of whack, adaptogens are the answer. Because our hormones get out of whack because of our stress response primarily. And you just said she's very, very busy. She's responsible for a lot of properties. That's stressful. And if we don't, I'm going to claim without ever talking to her, seeing a NutriQ, I'm going to claim stress is her problem. So let's work on the root cause. So is she doing any of the stress protocol?
Got her on the Wim Hof breathing, and
Good.
She really, really likes that. I told you the other day, I sat down on the couch and I said, I'm going to open this app, and you're just going to do what it says, and I'll do it with you. Yeah. She I downloaded the app on her phone, and she's, I guess that Wim Hof thing's got different rankings in it for how often you use it and all that. She's pretty excited about that.
Good.
She's doing that.
Good. And if I had to pick one, that may be the one because it's so easy to do. It's free. You can do it multiple times a day. You can do it almost anywhere. So that's a good one. So adaptogens.
And she does resistance training.
Good. Adaptogens manage hormones. That's all of them in one sense or another affect our hormone levels and really help normalize them. So I can say I would have her lean heavily on reishi. So the one product we have in the store with reishi that I absolutely love is that hot chocolate. Man, that stuff is good. 2 packets of that in, 10 ounces of water or so with a little bit of hot honey, and I even throw in some butter, some heavy cream, and blend it. And we can treat it, just like an NDK coffee in the morning. We could put our vitamin D in it, whatever we wanted. I would have her lean kind of heavy on reishi, but I would just have her consuming every mushroom product she likes, whether it's a little bit of mushroom chocolate, whether it's the mushroom coffee. They have their super creamers that you can mix and match. And I'm working on like a whole set of recipes, mixing and matching. But throw all this stuff at it.
Right.
So we could either spend some money on products for a couple weeks. I mean, if you consume these adaptogens multiple times a day for 2 to 3 weeks and you don't see any result, we could probably give up on that shotgun approach. My guess is you're going to see some improvements. So we could either spend the money on some products and see what happens, or we can go down that path of the testing. And we were just talking to Danny earlier today. He's already
More
up to
drugs.
almost $1,000 in testing. You have a doctor that wants to give hormones, which I think is a mistake. I might try, let's say you spend $100 or a couple $100 on adaptogens for a couple weeks. Let's see what happens.
All right. Would you be willing to put me together some kind of a kit you think she'd like? She does love coffee. We haven't got her mushroom coffee yet. I think it's going to be out for delivery tomorrow, I think. But I'd really like to try it that way instead of just throwing drugs at it.
Yeah, so part of the problem with that right now is you're going to have to get some of the stuff from our store and some directly from Four Sigmatic till we get our new shipments in. The one I would focus on would be that the cacao mix. Let me go into the store and find out exactly which one that one is. That's the one. I'm drinking a ton of this. So we have the cacao in 2 varieties. We have Chill, that comes in a light blue package, light blue trim on the package. It's mushroom cacao mix with reishi called Chill. She should be doing at least 2 packets of that a day. The best time for that is right after dinner. Have her treat this hot chocolate like dessert. Put a little honey in it, a little hot honey, some butter, some heavy cream, however she likes it, and treat it like a dessert. 2 packets a night. We also have that cacao mix in Perform, and depending on what she does in the morning, she may want to, does she drink coffee in the morning?
Yeah.
So what I would have her do for a while, how much coffee does she drink?
She'll drink 120-ounce mug. She'll have a couple mugs at the house, and she takes a 20-ounce to-go insulated steel mug with her.
Holy cow.
And that's
so we could be talking
much,
30 or 40 ounces of coffee a day?
Yeah.
Okay, here's what I would do then. I don't want her to cut that much caffeine cold turkey. She's going to be miserable if she does. She'll have horrendous headaches for a couple days. She won't have any energy. She'll just feel lousy. But when we're trying to work with hormones, I do like to get caffeine out of the mix if possible. I would kind of ease off. So get the cacao mix with reishi, the Chill. That's an evening drink. Get the cacao mix with cordyceps. That one's called Perform. It's in a yellow trimmed or an orange trimmed box. Have her replace at least one of her cups of coffee with this in the morning. It'll take 2 packs to do like 10 ounces or so. Have her replace at least 1 cup of coffee with that. And then over time, if she could start to minimize the coffee or even eliminate it for a while. Now, Four Sigmatic has this product. We don't have it in yet. They do have a ground coffee, whole coffee ground, with the reishi in it. That's what I alternate every morning. I do caffeine one morning, no caffeine the next. And when I do no caffeine, I do that that Rishi coffee in the morning. Now that right now, if you want it, you're going to have to get that from Four Sigmatic.
Now, it uses 4 Sigmatic, like the number 4 Sigmatic.
The website is actually, I believe, spelled out. Let me go find. 4 Sigmatic, FORUSIGMATIC, just like it sounds. 4sigmatic.com is the website.
And they've got, and I probably shouldn't tell you this, I'm driving while writing, 4sigmatic.com. And what was the name of that coffee that you don't have from them yet?
Yeah, you're going to see it in like a baby blue package. It's a bag of coffee, and it's going to be with Rishi.
What's Rishi?
That's the mushroom.
Okay.
And that
So,
mushroom that's the one for chill. That's the one to just like to really get your fight or flight mode to settle down and move you into the rest and digest mode more often.
Okay. So, but between now and then, I could get the cacao mix chill from you.
Yep.
And then the cacao Perform, right? So one's called Perform and one's called Chill.
Right. And I would do the Perform in the morning. And until you get the coffee, she could replace 1 cup of coffee with this at least in the morning. And then I would do and that's 2 packets in like 10 ounces of water, dress it up however you want, make it like NDK coffee. And then in the evening, I would do 2 packets of the blue, the chill with the Rishi.
Okay, so for her to do that for 2 weeks, she's going to need 1428 of each, I guess.
Yeah, let me see. It comes with 10. Each box comes with 10 packets.
I need 3 boxes of each.
Yeah. And if you get through these 3
30.
boxes with her doing 2 packets of Perform in the morning and 2 packets of Chill at night, if you get through all 3 of these, we don't see any results, I'm going to be shocked.
Okay, now, as far as results, would that be like the hot flashes and that kind of thing?
Yep. Yeah, she should see improvements
cool.
in any symptoms she has. Now, we may not eliminate them, but if we start to see improvements, that's going to be a good sign.
Okay. But then this would be something you could do until you get everything lined out and then maybe slow down to like a maintenance level instead of being on a prescription for the rest of your life.
That's you said it exactly the way I'm approaching this. We will go intensive with this stuff in the beginning. Like, you can't overdo it.
Yeah, front load
it. So, let's front load it. Let's make sure we're getting plenty. Once we see results, we can keep going until we get the results we want, and then we could back off and, maybe have, 1 packet of the cocoa a couple times a week during the night. Although I've kind of found that I really, really look forward to that hot cocoa at night, so I doubt that I'll back off. I really enjoy it.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. That being said, if you'd be fine with it, you could put me back on hold, and the lady that answers the phone, I'll just go ahead and get these bought and shipped on the way.
Will do. All right. And Angie says she's ready for you, so I'm sending you back over. Let's go to California. We're going to speak to Aaron, and right now we are, this will be my last call. So if you want to jump in, now would be the time to do it. 855-950-3835. Aaron, you're up.
Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning.
I wanted to get your opinion on, a cortisone shot in my hand for trigger finger. I'd like to give you a little bit of background. First, one, I think you're going to ask what I'm eating, and I'm already been eating low-carb paleo for, 34 years now. It's been a while.
Okay.
And I was in a motorcycle accident and crushed my hand, and I'm doing physical therapy, and my physical therapist says my trigger finger is holding me back on my right hand. And so now I'm considering doing something about that trigger finger so I can get used to my hands back sooner.
Holding you back from what?
I'm trying to regain grip strength and closing my hand all the way.
Okay.
And before the accident, I had trigger finger, and it wasn't really bothering me that much, so I was able to just work through it, and it would come and go.
So
sometimes I go a month or two.
Is there pain?
No, it's startling, but I don't think it really is painful. But when I'm trying to make a full tight fist, it hangs up almost every time now.
Okay.
I've been working on my hand a lot.
So if the question is whether you should take a cortisone shot, I would say no. Because it's not going to get you closer to your goal of full functionality of your hand naturally. It may reduce some inflammation, and then you may be able to move your hand, but then once it goes away, the inflammation is going to come back and you're in the same boat again. When I have recommended cortisone for some people,
right?
It's very temporary. I have recommended cortisone shots for people who in real pain. So if we have so much pain that it's interfering with sleep, that's going to interfere with recovery. So in that case, a cortisone shot can get us closer to our goal. It can reduce the pain enough that we can sleep and start to heal. That's why I asked you, is this really hurting? But if it's, so I have the exact same thing you have. I crushed my right hand. I was not able to make a full fist for a long time. My trigger finger, you can look at it. Right now I'm making a fist and it's off. I mean, it's damn near every bit of a 1/4 inch off, almost a half from how far my other fingers will bend, or how much, if I compare it to my left, it's about a 1/4 inch off. I don't know that that's ever going to be right. And the surgeon explained it to me. My bone is shorter than it was before. I broke it, and she had to fuse it back together. I've got a titanium plate in there with screws, and it's shorter. Physically, my finger will never bend the way it used to. I have no pain. It's weird. Like you say, it's kind of startling. You go to grab something and your hand doesn't work the way it used to. But with mine, there's never going to be any fix for that. And I'm not in pain, so I did nothing for my hand as far as pain because it really didn't hurt me that much. It wasn't that big of a deal. But it doesn't move. It's better than it was. And maybe it will continue to get better, but that was 3 years ago for me. I think just about 3 years ago. I don't know that it'll ever be right. According to the surgeon, it probably won't be.
Okay, well, I'm glad I called and asked. I've had the trigger finger for over a year, and I've just been dealing with it because I kind of thought
like I said,
temporary. And
if you really had pain and it was really affecting your sleep and your healing, I'd say, go ahead and take the shot. It'll give you a week or so of relief, but it's not going to fix the problem.
Yeah, week's not good enough. If it was months, maybe, but weeks,
no,
that's terrible.
No, I did take a cortisone shot for my shoulder because it was hurting so bad. I wasn't getting any sleep. I was getting worse every day. I got less than a week of relief.
Oh, that's terrible. Unfortunately, the hand with the trigger fingers on my good hand, the right one.
Same with me.
The left ones, it's all the left one's the ones that got really crushed, and I can't make a fist at all with it. I'm not sure if I ever will again, but I'm hoping because I need to get back to driving.
If we break or crush bones and we change the length or the shape, or that will change how we can physically move. Like I said, I doubt that my right hand will ever be completely correct again.
All right. Well, Thank you for taking my call, Kevin. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for the call. Yeah, skip the shot. If you're, like I said, if you're really in pain, cortisone for a short period of time can help, but it doesn't fix the root cause of the problem. Let's go to Texas. Fred, welcome to the program.
Kevin, good morning.
What's on your mind today?
Well, I was wondering, do you think those grip books would help the previous caller?
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point. And I meant to come back to that, and I forgot. The best thing he can do is just work on his grip strength, which is what I've been doing with the X3 bar. You can actually do some pretty nice wrist curls with the X3 bar or reverse curls.
Yeah, I've been doing that actually. I've been using that on the day I do back and biceps.
Yeah, I do.
I do wrist curls and reverse curls after I do the bicep curls.
I alternate. So one time I'll do the wrist curls. The next time I do back and biceps, I'll do the reverse curls. And I actually like both of them better with the bands than I ever did with weights.
Yes, they keep constant tension on you. That's
reverse curls are really, really difficult to do with live weight. Most people use way too much weight and they cheat. They do that little hop that really gives that bar a lot of momentum and makes it much easier. The whole trick to the reverse curl is that first third of the movement is where you're doing all the work, and everybody kind of jumps that part. And then, you kind of coast the rest of the way. When you have to do it with the band, it's nice because there isn't too much resistance down there at the bottom. It's just right. And then you still have resistance all the way through the motion. So for people who want to do reverse curls, it really, really builds forearm strength. You just grip your bar the opposite way. Instead of an underhand grip to do a curl, you do an overhand grip and then do a curl, and it will really build the forearm. And then wrist curls are just, I support my forearms on my legs and let my hands hang out in front of my knees, and then you just curl up your wrists, and that builds the other side of your forearm. But those would be two great workouts for him. Yeah, good point.
Yeah. Another thing was the post I put out there. I think it was either Friday or over the long weekend about my unfortunate fall that blew out my quadricep tendons back in 2014. So I was still way heavy after that, and the post I posted about a month ago showing my 300 down to 225, I did that without any working out at all, without any X3 bar, without any running or walking, only because I'm still not 100% with my leg strength.
Right.
So I used to be apprehensive. I used to go downstairs backwards actually because I didn't have enough leg power to hold all my weight on one leg. So that has changed. I do take it easy going down the regular way, but people say, "Oh, I can't do this because of that." There's always a reason that we can't get our health in. And I have slip ups. With my diet, I'll eat a bowl of pasta. I'll have a couple of drinks on the weekend or whatever. This is not I'm not a fanatic where I like to be. I try to get as much as I can on a healthy path. But, when you live in the real world when no one else in the house is doing that, sometimes I just eat whatever I prepare for everybody. I'm not going to prepare 2 or 3 different meals. I'll just prepare everything and I'll have a little bowl of whatever it is.
Right.
So, I wanted to, let everyone know that you don't, it's good to work out. It's good to move and exercise, and that's all fine. And it'll enhance your overall, stamina and heart rate but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. You don't need to spend thousands of dollars to get to lose the weight and get healthy.
And in fact, we could take it a step further. Not only does it not have to be, it doesn't help. Exercise does not help with weight loss. It just doesn't. The people who claim it
everyone
does,
associates that.
Right. And the people who will say, oh, no, I can prove it. I did it. Well, I know you went out and you worked out really hard and then you restricted your calories and you were hungry. That's what did it, not the exercise. The exercise it's almost self-regulating. The more you exercise, the more you're going to eat. That's how it works. So if you go exercise and you restrict your eating, you will lose weight. But it wasn't the exercise. It was the fact that you restricted your eating. And we don't want people to restrict their eating. We don't want people to go hungry because you'll never sustain that. That's the problem with trying to lose weight by restricting calories or burning more off. You will, if you're going to lose weight, you're going to have to be hungry all the time. And nobody likes that. Nobody's going to sustain that. So not only is it not necessary, it's not helping at all for weight loss.
Right. I also like the fact when you were talking to that young lady earlier about how people perceive when you tell them they have to give things up. How in the past they gave up this, they gave up that, and they're back to where they were or even heavier because those fad diets never are sustainable, like we were just talking about. So in order, I guess the way I would actually try to present this is that these things are bad for you overall, but I've been doing this for X amount of years or X amount of months or X amount, and this is, after a while, you don't miss it as much as you do every day now. So, and getting, and another thing is you have to try to explain to them how your body uses certain nutrients for fuel. It can use alcohol, carbohydrates, or fat, and how each one burns and gives you sustainable energy throughout the day. Fat is the best one. And so if you give them the education behind it, the science behind it, the real world effects behind it, it may help them in their mind process it and maybe come to the conclusion that they want to start this.
No doubt. And you trying to find that balance can be difficult. We don't want to overcomplicate this. We don't want to give them too many rules, but we have to be able to convince them why this does work, why the science. One of the reasons, I've even been asked this by other practitioners, when I go to events or when I'm working with another practitioner, they're shocked at the success we've had, at the number of people we've gotten to do this, even though I don't even actively practice. It's not like I'm helping a bunch of direct clients do this. We only do a handful of discovery calls or one-on-ones a week. Lauren can easily handle all of them by herself. We don't do that many. And they're always shocked. Well, how do you have so many success stories? And I think the reason is just pure repetition. How many other practitioners are on the air, 10 to 15 hours a week? Most podcasts do an hour a week. So I think for me, it's just pure repetition. You hear it over and over and over and over with different callers with the same message for the last 8 years. The message hasn't changed much. We figured out what we got wrong and we correct it. But I'm still telling people you got to stop eating the standard American diet. You have to give up a lot of food. You have to make an extreme change in your diet. And I don't try to sugarcoat it. It is an extreme change. It's a big change, and people need to realize that. That's what works. If you make that change, it will work. Now, it has to be the right change. But we've spent the last 8 years trying to simplify that message. Now I've kind of got it down to eat real food, mostly animals, give up grains and seed oils.
Right. Right.
And if you
Right.
followed
Yeah, so that's,
that,
you know, I
the
just-
carbohydrates kind of take care of themselves. If you're eating mostly animals, carbohydrates aren't going to be your problem. If you give up grains, you've given up a ton of carbohydrates. If you give up seed oils, you're going to see inflammation go way down. And it really is that simple. It just seems to me like the more animals I eat, the healthier I get. The fewer plants that are in my diet, the better I feel.
Yes, I noticed that with myself too. If I do venture off the path, you know, I start getting upper shoulder pain,
Yeah.
or a low or a hip pain or something that starts coming back that I used to have.
Exactly.
So, you know, these are the tells that, you know, hey, wait a second, you know, your body's telling you, you know, you need to reverse course here.
Every time I've made an improvement in my health or the way I feel or solved a problem, every time it has involved getting rid of some other plant food.
Right.
I've never given up an animal product because I didn't feel good.
No, I know. I think the whole thing is that, like the one caller says, in America we want the easy, quick fix.
Yeah. I think as human beings, we want an easy, quick fix. And here's the thing. This is, I won't say easy. This is a simple, quick fix. This is simple. Do what I just said. Eat real food, mostly animals, give up grains and seed oils. That's pretty damn simple. Now, it's not easy to do in the real world, but it's simple, and you will get results, and you'll get them pretty damn quick.
Yep. Yeah, I tell people when I first started this, I just kind of woke up one morning and I didn't have the lower back pain anymore. I didn't have the knee pain anymore. I didn't have the shoulder pains anymore. It just kind of like all of a sudden it just happened. And I said, and I tell people, I said, you know, things started working that weren't working on a normal basis every day.
Yep.
And, you know, with my, with, you know, my extra, you know, my, you know, the bedroom and everything. I mean, just things that weren't working when I was 300 pounds and unhealthy are working now.
Yeah.
You know, again, tremendous. I could definitely see it. And I tell people, I said, just, you know, you have nothing to lose for 30 days to try something. I said, but the only one you're going to fool is yourself if you don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, I'll help anyone any way they want. But if you, I'm going to wait till Monday. I'm going to wait till the 1st. I'm going to wait till the new year. I mean, these are all irrelevant dates. You know, just start today. I don't care if you had Egg McMuffins for breakfast. Start today.
Start right now. Exactly.
You know?
Yeah,
now.
That's another thing we tend to do as humans. We want this arbitrary cutoff date for some reason, like Monday is different than today, or it's almost December. I'll start on December 1st. Oh, wait a minute, I'll make it a New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
So, no, just start right now.
I love that.
Right now.
Yeah. I tell them, there's days. Yeah, I didn't hear your quote today.
It's Aaron just sent me a note that my commentary is live, so it's on the app right now. My quote today was, "You will never win if you never begin."
Yep, that is true.
Yep,
that is true. I tell people, even when I have a bad meal, it doesn't mean I have a bad rest of the day.
No. I just, it was Thanksgiving weekend. I consumed more carbohydrates over the last 4 days than I normally do in 2 weeks. I'm okay with that.
Right.
They were all clean. None of them were, there was no grains. There was no, real sugar overload. But Lisa makes some amazing grain-free pumpkin rolls that are just out of this world. They are so damn good. Every time she makes them, she cuts the sugar down more and more. They are to the point now where there is almost zero sweetness in them. They are still amazing. And she makes a pumpkin chiffon pie that's just out of this world, and she does a grain-free crust. And, that's more carbs than I normally eat. And I had multiple
Right.
pieces some days. And, you know,
I hear
I
you.
had a huge crop of sweet potatoes this year out of the garden that are just the best sweet potatoes I've ever eaten. So we had mashed potatoes that I don't know why I didn't figure this out a long time ago. If you're going to make mashed potatoes, use half white potatoes, russets, and half sweet potato. It is amazing.
Wow.
Best mashed potatoes you've ever had. They're not sweet.
Well, I'll tell you, this was the first year I didn't do a turkey because it was just my son and I, and he's not a big fan of turkey. So I actually had a frozen prime rib roast at
There you go.
U.S. Wellness, I think.
There you go.
And I did that, and I did twice baked potatoes with russet potatoes.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah.
you've had those.
Oh,
but
of course.
they were excellent.
Yeah,
They were excellent.
uh,
But let me ask you this. On the sous vide, because I'll tell you, I make hard-boiled eggs with I have the Breville, the white one, and then I have the other one, the black one, because of the black one I use when I do the yogurt because it has a low, just it takes the water out low, but
Okay.
the Breville brings the water up high.
Right.
So it was kind of sticking out of the water when I tried to do the yogurt with the
Okay.
things. But when you do meat, because I tried to do this with a steak, and I don't know if I screwed something up or I didn't wait long enough. How do you know when something is done? Then to sear it. Like, you know,
So,
I just haven't had it. Go ahead.
yeah, so I don't even try. I just make sure, because you can't overdo it. So I just leave it so
Okay.
long it has to be up to time. Like, even if I take a steak out of the refrigerator and it's totally thawed, it goes in that sous vide for an hour. That's my minimum on a steak. It goes in for an hour.
Okay.
It will always be done. Even
Okay.
frozen, it's usually done at an hour. Now, you could, I never have. I can usually feel my steak and come pretty close, but you could just temp it with a thermometer if you wanted.
Okay, I just because I'm starting to when I vacuum pack stuff, I'm starting to wrap it in butcher paper prior to putting it in there.
Have you
But
ever?
Usually,
You can go look this
Go ahead.
up. Have you ever seen the test where you use the base of your thumb to learn how to feel a steak to know what temp it is?
yes. Where it's your pinky is well done and your index finger is rare.
No, I've learned it.
All right.
You use just the base of your thumb, because there's up by your thumb it's firm. Then the farther down you get.
Oh, okay.
So I've always used.
I was told if you put your thumb and your fingers points together as you get closer, that's where you should be on the rareness.
Yeah. So any
scale.
trick like that, you can
Right.
get really accurate as to knowing what a steak, how well it's done without a thermometer. But in the beginning, use a thermometer. That helps you realize, okay, it feels like this and it's 120 degrees. It feels like this and it's 150 degrees. So in the beginning, I used the thermometer. Now I can usually just go touch the steak and get within about 5 degrees of what temperature it is.
So what do you do when you freeze dry stuff? Like freeze dry your meat? Do you do what I'm doing now? You're wrapping in butcher paper, then freeze drying it?
You mean sous vide, not freeze dried?
No. I mean when you're freezing meat.
Oh, when I freeze it.
I was always using the vacuum seal or whatever brand,
which is
I got.
fine,
I don't
but
even know.
wrap it in either butcher paper
butcher
or what's the other paper? Parchment. Wrap it in parchment. Parchment paper is a
Okay.
lot cheaper. And you know the best way? We actually get parchment paper sheets that are already cut in like 500 count boxes from food service. I use those things constantly. Every time I put a pan in the oven, the sheet of parchment goes down. It makes cleanup easy. If I'm going to wrap food, it'll get wrapped in parchment first and then foil if I need to use foil so the foil doesn't touch. If I'm going to put it in plastic, there's another option on the sous vide. You could wrap the meat in parchment paper, then stick it in your vacuum sealer bags and then seal it like that.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's what I've been. I just started doing that. I don't know. I still have meat. I have a ton of meat. So my wife's like, you're always buying meat. I says, yeah, I'll never run out.
That's right. I'm always going to eat it, so might as well buy it.
Exactly. All right, sir. Well, listen, it's good talking to you. Everyone have a good day.
All right. Great talking to you. Let's head off to Ohio. Andrea, welcome to the program.
I had a question about dry skin, kind of.
Okay. Let me ask you a question first.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you have your gallbladder?
Yep.
Okay, good. If you didn't, this would be a bigger problem. We can still overcome it, but it'd be a little more difficult. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. Yep. So I've had, my heels have been dry for years. I don't remember when it started, but I've always kind of struggled with that. But I basically have been fine everywhere else. Now, in the last 3 to 4 months, I'm about 4 months pregnant. And the last 3 to 4 months, my hands have been going. Thank you. My hands have been going like nuts. I have cracks and weird kind of, not bumps exactly, but kind of bumps all over my hands. Nowhere else in my body.
Okay.
But like I said, my hands have just gone nuts to the point I'm wearing. I've tried avocado oil on them. I've tried coconut oil on them.
Okay, so
we're more natural lotions, and it's just not working.
Yeah, we're approaching it the wrong way. Nothing you put on your skin is going to fix the root cause. It may give you some relief. A lot of times it doesn't. So tell me, first off, how old are you?
35.
Tell me about your diet right now.
I would say that sounds terrible. Pretty much keto. I guess kind of we mentioned with the holidays and things. Sometimes we'll eat other stuff, but pretty.
How long have you been eating that?
I would say, January will be 2 years.
Yeah, that shouldn't be it then. I mean, on keto, I'm assuming you're eating a lot of good fat.
Yes, my husband we have beef cows, so we have our own beef. Most of our pork comes from a friend who raises his own grain, grass-fed. Sorry, no grain, just grass-fed beef. I make most of our food at home, very little processed foods.
And you're not afraid of fat. I mean, you're adding plenty of good fat, right?
No, I love bacon. Bacon is the best thing.
Yeah, plenty of butter and olive oil and avocado oil and So normally,
most of our foods are probably fried in it, whatever. Yep.
Normally, dry skin is just a lack of good fats in the diet. So a lot of women who ate very, very low fat struggle with this a lot. If they get to the point where they lose their gallbladder because they've been eating so low fat, then this problem gets even worse. We almost always solve this just by adding more good fat to the diet. That's not going to work with you. Do you feel like you're digesting that fat well?
How would I know if I am or not?
Believe it or not, we have to look in the toilet bowl.
Yeah, okay. I worked as a PCA for a while, so it's not whatever.
Yeah, so light gray or very light colored stools, a sign we might not be digesting our fat well. Slick, shiny. You can even sometimes, for some people, see an oil slick on the water. I mean, that's how much they're not digesting their fat. It's passing right through them.
Sure.
So those are some indications. So normally, if there's enough good fat in the diet, as long as they're digesting it, we shouldn't have this problem. So usually it's one of those two things. So we know you're eating enough good fat.
Okay.
Let's make sure you're digesting it well. And if not, we have a fat digestion kit in the store. This was such a common thing. We created a kit to help people with this.
Yep.
You may want to just try, 30 days of that kit and see what happens. If it's not that,
and that's something,
then it's going to get more difficult. There are no more easy answers. I mean, that's how simple this normally is. Normally, it's get enough good fat in the diet, make sure they're digesting the fat, and this problem goes away. And I've had women that have just swear they've dealt with cracked heels their whole life. We get enough good fat in their diet, and then they digest it. It goes away completely, and they're amazed. If it's not that, then we usually have to get down to some of the, sometimes more exotic blood work. We have to go look for, pathogens probably, or it just gets more difficult if it isn't one of those first two things.
Yep. Okay. And I'm assuming that the digestive kit you said, right, it would be safe pregnant to do it?
I believe so. I would have to go double check that. I'm glad you said that.
Okay.
I would have to go double check.
That would just be the thing. It's wondering.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what's in it. I know we've got there's some bile salts. You can look. Every one of our supplements have that warning on it. And that's all I would do is I would just go look at each individual one and see if any of them have the pregnancy warning. If they don't, then you'll be fine. Okay. And if you find one product in the kit that does, just skip that one product, but take the others.
Sure. Right. Okay. Do you have any idea with the Cardio Miracle? Is it the same thing? Because my husband and I were both looking at it, because I was like, is that safe also for pregnancy?
I believe Cardio Miracle is. Those are the questions I try not to answer without double checking. We're always bringing in new lines and new products, and I'd hate to overlook something and give somebody the wrong information. Right. So, I would want to check specifically. One of the things you could do, you could schedule a discovery call with Lauren, and she can go through. She'll have more time on a discovery call to go through each one of those supplements with you.
Sure. Yep. Okay. Cool. Can I ask you one more quick question?
Sure.
My husband especially is very much into jalapenos, and so the whole jalapeno honey thing has really got his interest piqued. I'm a little bit more skeptical because I'm not quite so much like the whole hot. He goes way, way, way hotter than I do.
Right.
But we were wondering. So we've got peppers. We're gonna try it. We have a local honey guy just down the road that we can get honey from. But wondering, do you need to hold the peppers down in the honey? It's with other ferments, you need to keep them down.
No, this is so easy. It's like the easiest ferment ever. No brine to mess with, no salt, no ratios.
Right.
You just cram as many. Well, it depends on how hot and thin you're trying to get it. For me, I like it hot and I like it thin. So I will pack if I do a quart. A quart's about the smallest batch I'm going to make.
Yep.
I actually have done a couple pints just testing some things, but I will pack as many peppers as I can into that quart jar, totally cover them with honey, put a lid on it, and I don't do anything else. I open it up every now and then, stir it, taste it, and, I taste it and stick my spoon right back in it. I don't worry about any of that stuff. And I have had zero. These are the easiest ferments ever. Here's another trick that I've actually found. I have ordered muslin bags, like just plain cotton, unbleached bags, food safe.
Okay.
And they have little drawstrings on them.
Yep.
And I've bought them in 2 ounce. I've bought all the way up to 12 ounce. Now what I do is whatever I want to infuse in the honey, I just put in those bags. And then I just stick the whole bag and just push it down into the honey so it submerges in there. And then that way, when you're done, you just pull the bag out.
Well, not trying to get all the little seeds and everything
exactly.
Else,
right. You got to pour it through filters.
You can do it, but it's going to be a pain.
Yeah. If I started using these bags and I just went and bought a ton of them in all different sizes, and I use these bags, it's awesome because now I just pull those peppers out. I just leave them in that bag, and I have a big container that I use. I just throw the bags in there, and when I want some peppers, I just reach in there and grab them.
Right. No, that's not. Yeah, like I said, it makes everything easier then.
Yeah, and then tell your husband when he's done infusing the honey, take the peppers and just go online and find any hot sauce recipe. I mean, basically, hot sauce is really simple. It's peppers and vinegar. That's your base, and then you add whatever flavorings to balance. Or if he loves heat and jalapenos, he's got to try making the hot sauce from these honey-infused peppers. It's a whole new flavor. Yeah, things you've never tasted in hot sauces before.
Yeah, well, we go through hot sauce. We should almost have like a yearly or a supply that just comes automatically to the house because we go through it that fast.
I know. I should have mine in some sort of a dispenser, like a kegerator. I use so much of it.
Right.
Yeah.
It'd be easier. You could just take it up and open it, pick it up, and put it on the plate.
Yeah. Yeah. So the honey's incredible, but these hot sauces you make from the peppers afterwards are pretty incredible too.
All right, we'll have to give it a try and see what happens.
All right, let me know. And let me know on the dry skin. We'll fix this. We'll get you fixed one way or the other. Hopefully it'll be the easy way. Let's go to South Carolina this time. Terrence, welcome to the program.
What's up, Kev? I got a quick thing for Fred. I bought it's called a Vesta. The sous vide machine, you can get like 6 quart things in it. But if he goes on the Vesta, they have like an app, and he goes into there and there's all cooking instructions. It'll tell you how thick the meat is and all that, and how long to leave it in. In other words, so they'll suggest say a 2-inch pork chop. Then you pick your medium or whatever, however you want it. Mine's always rare, obviously. And then it'll tell you thickness and how long. It'll tell you least and the most amount of time on there, so that may help out for everybody. But there's nothing like that sous vide, I'll tell you. Ever since I go, matter of fact, we just had T-bones in it last night from U.S. Wellness, and T-bones are tricky to cook if you try to cook them on the grill. Just to me, because the bone gets a temperature, but in the sous vide, my God,
perfect.
I threw them in there last night, and then cook them out, and I feared it not even a minute, on like between both sides. So like 30 seconds, boom, boom, flip them over, let it sit another 2-3 minutes, and that's it. Unbelievable.
They are, and it's so easy. I know a lot of people have a hard time cooking a steak to the right temperature. You can't mess it up with sous vide. You set the and like I said, nope. I've never even bothered with those time charts. I know they're out there because I'm usually not in a hurry. I love the fact that I don't have to thaw anything ahead of time. I take it right out of the freezer. It goes right into the bag, right into the sous vide. An hour later, it's perfect temp, and I'm done. So I can throw it in the sous vide, go do whatever else I want to do, and if I come back in an hour and a half or 2 hours, so what? Doesn't matter. I did ribs once. I did ribs just because I found this recipe and somebody said they were incredible. 48 hours in the sous vide.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, they were pretty damn amazing. They really were.
Yeah, that's a great tool for that. Now, here's my other question. Now, this Sigmatic coffee you were talking about, you're working on getting in the store. How long before you guys get that? Do you have an idea on that?
I would think, I should check with Lisa. I gave her the list last week. I think she's already placed the order. I mean, they could potentially come in this week.
Okay. Yeah, because I've been doing the Bulletproof, the Mentalist stuff, and then now you were talking about that cardio coffee last week, and now you're talking about the Sigmatic.
Yeah,
it's like, I don't know.
There's a coffee out there for whatever you want to accomplish. The cardiology coffee, or the cardiology coffee, I think he calls it. I just have to say that that's not a big deal for me. I've tried all the coffees that are low in mycotoxins. It doesn't change anything for me.
Right.
I've tried it multiple times. So what that tells me is I'm just not very susceptible to mold toxins. But some people are really sensitive to them. I've had some people say changing their coffee to a clean coffee like the Cardiology coffee makes a huge difference for them.
Sure. Makes sense.
Yeah. Now, what made a big difference
the other
for me
guy that called,
what was the adaptogens. I am sold on the whole adaptogen thing. I am still loading up with them because I'm still noticing changes.
That's what I wanted to touch on, too, because like that other guy that called in, he was talking about the coffee. I think he might have been talking about the cacao, because I do the cacao and the light brown box. I put that in my coffee, and I make regular coffee, and then I do the NDK coffee. And I only put one package in. I mean, I should be putting two, I'm guessing, judging by what you're saying, but it works fine. Now you're talking about these drinks. I'm going to order the chill and all that other stuff to make them at night because, here's another thing. Again, I've been looking up, after you're talking about this hot honey, I went and found like a place that's got a kind of local, but not, it's from South Carolina, and I started putting that on everything just about. And
I know.
It's amazing how the flavor, like, you can put it on cheese, like, or if you have a charcuterie board, they used to do that too, but now with the hot honey on, it's like, oh.
I know. Yeah, it's incredible. Hot honey and goat cheese, one of my favorites. Either just squirt some hot honey right on it, or take the peppers that you used and chop those up and mix them into some goat cheese. Oh, that is so good. I know.
And what I started doing too now that I found this is I started to I do my Cardio Miracle it's like sometimes I take it first thing in the morning. Sometimes I'll take a thing with me in the truck, and then I'll but I put a little bit of hot water, the hot honey, and then I put the Cardio Miracle. I hit it with a stick blender, and then I just put some water in, fill it up with ice, and then I just I'll be having mine probably about an hour from now. And again, it pulls the flavor out of the Cardio Miracle with the hot honey.
It's so funny because I've never talked about this, but that's how I do my Cardio Miracle. I always start it with hot water. It mixes so much better that way.
You did mention that. That's how I got it.
Okay. I couldn't remember if I ever talked about that or not. Then I hit it with a little bit of apple cider vinegar, now some hot honey, and then I put in ice.
Thing.
And man, Lisa and I both now, that's just a daily thing. Whoever starts making theirs first, they just make two of them. So some days she makes it for us both, some days I make it, but that's become like NDK coffee. I don't miss that one anymore. And now my evening drink of the cacao with reishi, those three are just a part of my day now.
Nice. Here's another thing, too, for everybody out there that's either just getting started on this journey or just starting to listen. It's not, like you said before, it's easy. You truly want to do, if you could truly just take 2 weeks and just eat eat what you're supposed to, and not with, no carbs, no grains or nothing. Just 2 weeks and try that. And see what results you get. And then once you get that 2 weeks, sometimes 3, depending on how you got. Me, it took 2 weeks. I don't know if you remember when it hit me. I had club feet as a kid. I had much inflammation in my feet. Yep. I limped, and I was telling you on the phone. My mother said to me, "I can't believe how much better you're walking." And I started getting choked up. I was getting choked up now. Right. And my mother said, "I can't believe the way you're walking." And you said to me, "It's not right to get a radio host." This is when you were at the other place to start to cry. But again, that stuck with me because now I'm saying, my God, the way I feel to be able to, to not have the pain I've been dealing with since I can remember.
Isn't that crazy? I know.
Feet problems since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And occasionally I'll get up, if I do something, have something I shouldn't have, or, I just stepped the wrong way. It's still there a little bit, but just the inflammation alone in the joints is. So if there's anybody out there that's looking to start this, and again, I don't think people have been listening a while, don't think it's about a money grab for you. But the stuff that, when you first started this, you didn't have all these additional things that came along, which is, thank God you researched it. and help and did it so it helps the people even more that have been doing it. But if you just started off, you don't need all this stuff. You need just simple stuff. Butter in your coffee, you can start off. And no grain. I mean, it doesn't take a lot of money in the beginning to do it.
Here's the crazy thing. In reality, everybody's worried about inflation. Everybody's worried about the economy and money. I could make somebody outrageously healthy and they would spend less money than they currently do today. They don't have to buy they don't have to buy a single supplement. You don't need them. They help. Nope. They can help a lot of things, but you can still be far healthier than you are today. 0 supplements. You're just going to eat real food, mostly animals. Look, don't even worry about the grass-fed part in the beginning. It's not that important in the beginning. Get your meat anywhere. Any meat you get is healthier than all the other crap you've been eating in your diet. So don't even stress about the whole grass-fed thing. Just go to whatever grocery store you go to and buy animal products. Buy eggs and meat and cheese and dairy. I don't care if it's poor quality. It's still a huge improvement. So right away, your grocery bill is going to go down because you're not buying all the processed crap. And you're going to eat less.
Yep.
You just know it. Without even trying, you're going to eat less, so your cost goes down. And then the other 2 things you could do immediately for your health that cost nothing, the Wim Hof breathing and the cold exposure. Huge improvements in your health. Yep. You change your diet and add those 2 things, you will be blown away by how good you feel. And if we wanted to, I designed a whole bunch of resistance training that uses body weight only, no equipment whatsoever.
No, absolutely. I just want you, like I said, and it's actually, usually people start to do this after the New Year's resolution. But
no, start today.
Like Fred said, a couple other people, that's it, start today. Oh, I'll wait till Monday. Oh, I had it. Yeah, no, right? Yeah, if you truly want to get on this journey, and I've fallen off. Trust me, I've drank a bunch of beer. I mean, and again, the way you feel the next day is like crap, and then you're like, damn. All right, so was it worth it? Sometimes it was. Right. There's a lot of times it wasn't. Exactly. But again, to just get back on track, and that's all it takes.
Yep. Yeah, I don't care
if you had. I'll let somebody else get in there.
I don't care if you had the worst breakfast ever this morning. So what? Have a better lunch.
Yep. Absolutely. All right, Kev. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for the call. All right, I think we're going to wrap this up today. We are all out of calls. I have a lot of stuff I could go work on, all good stuff. I have a lot of projects going on that I need to make some headway on. Anything? Oh, you know what? I do need to talk about the store a little bit. We do have a special going on. I got to find it here. Here we go. So, first off, I want to thank everybody who has been ordering from our store. It's been a good month for us. This year has been a struggle revenue-wise. Not horrible. I'm not worried, but it's never any fun to go backwards in business. We had a couple really good years. Not being unserious has limited our reach. We don't bring in nearly as many new people as we used to. We're not really ready to yet, but I wish we were. We're getting closer. Once we get most of our technology worked out, then we will really start to grow the tribe again. So we haven't been growing it, which means we depend on, our current tribe members to help us out a little bit. And you did. You stepped up. I asked a couple weeks ago, store sales have been strong. Let's keep it that way. Really does help us. And in order to kind of incentivize you a little bit, we had a great sale last week. We're continuing it this week with a new special. You can still get 20% off if you buy gift cards in our store. You can buy a gift card right in the store. Then you can use it whenever. You can give them away for Christmas, but you're still getting that 20% discount we were running last week. So your $100 gift card will only cost you $80. A $200 gift card will cost you $160. Can't beat that deal. So, and the beauty of that is you can buy the cards now, and I mean, we have so much stuff in the store now. We have so much good food. If you haven't looked at the food options we have in the store, it's incredible. Between the soups, the nuts, the granola mixes, the seafood, the chocolate, I could just go on and on and on. We have a lot of really good food in the store now, so check that out. We have new products coming in. We're working with some new vendors. We're going to be bringing in the Four Sigmatic. The beauty of this special, buy the card now. You get your savings now. You can use it whenever you want or give them away or both. All right, so I talked myself right into another call because there's a call coming in. So, Angie, go ahead and screen that one. I'll take it since I'm here. So, yes, help us out. We do appreciate it. We are probably still down both revenue and profit-wise about 10% from last year. That's our first down year in a long, long time. So it's we're fine, not worried about it, but it just means I'll have to slow down a little on projects because normally, we cash flow all of our projects. So when cash is coming in, I can spend more on projects. When it's not, I usually back off a little bit. We don't borrow money. We don't leverage anything. So we do depend on your cash flow. So help us out. Head on over to letstruck.com. Stock up on some of those gift cards. Get your 20% off. And then you have as much time as you want to use them. Let's go to Kansas. Bob, you snuck in under the wire here. What can I help you with?
A little bit about blood sugar. My readings are from about 95 to 120.
Okay.
Most generally around 107 to 115 when I wake up in the morning. After I eat breakfast, it has on last number of times it's been dropping to 95.
Excellent.
After I eat breakfast.
Excellent. That's actually a good pattern. Nothing about that pattern worries me. I'm assuming you're eating very low carb.
That's the idea.
Yeah, so how long have you been doing it?
Oh, over a year.
Okay. So after 8 years, I still see changes in my blood sugar and what I can eat. Like I just said, I probably ate more carbohydrates over the last 4 days than I normally do in a 2-week period, and no real blood sugar spikes. I wouldn't have been able to do that 5 years ago even. It took us decades to become as insulin resistant as we are. We make a lot of progress really quickly, but we continue to make progress. The longer you do this, the better your blood sugar will be. But there's nothing wrong with your pattern. When you're not over 140, we're not doing damage. We're not releasing a lot of insulin. So this pattern you're in doesn't worry me at all. It's pretty common. One of the things you may want to try on those mornings, let's say you wake up and your fasting is 117. Try to correlate that with how late you may have eaten something. Blood sugar is really weird. I did not figure this out until I wore the continuous glucose monitor. Whenever you eat something during the day and you're awake, that only has an effect on your blood sugar for about 3 or 4 hours max, usually not even that long. The one exception is alcohol. Alcohol will mess with your blood sugar for about 24 to 36 hours. It's that bad. But food, when you eat it during the day, is pretty consistent. It has an impact on your blood sugar for about 3 hours max. For some reason, though, when you eat in the evening, whatever you eat in the evening can affect your blood sugar for like 12 hours or more. So when I kept having those kind of, high readings in the morning, I wasn't really worried about it, but I couldn't figure out why I was getting those. And it turned out every time I did that, it was because I ate later at night. So by shifting my eating window backwards so that I don't eat usually after 7, and I'm usually in bed between 9 and 10, then I don't get that higher reading in the morning. If I snack on something even small, like 8:30 or 9 o'clock, it'll mess with my blood sugar, into the next day.
Okay, and what seemed funny to me is after breakfast, it always drops.
Yeah. So what's happening is our body needs glucose. Our brain needs glucose. And if we don't eat enough glucose, which we shouldn't be, and we don't when we eat this way, our body has to make it. And it just seems like when it makes it, it makes more than it needs to overnight. And we call this the dawn effect. It's very well documented. You're like, well, how did my blood sugar go up? I didn't eat anything. Well, your body can make your blood sugar go up. Stress can make your blood sugar go up. So sometimes we find out, again, wearing the Garmin watch, when I can see my stress all night long, if I have a high reading in the morning, it'll almost always correlate to more stress in my sleep.
So after I eat, it's got blood sugar added in a natural way with the food, and it naturally drops.
Yep. Yeah, your body says, oh, look, there's some food there. There's a little bit of glucose in there. We're fine. We don't need to make any anymore. And that's a common pattern. People who have that high dawn effect reading tend to go down the rest of the day when they eat.
I appreciate it very much. Have a good day, Kevin.
You're welcome. Thanks for the call. Yeah, that is a very, very common pattern. All right. We're going to go to Montana. Scott, welcome to the program.
Hi, good morning, Kevin. I got two questions, both regarding digestion.
All right.
Number one, I have gas all the time.
That's not a good sign.
I'm just wondering, right? So I'm not sure what to do about it.
I can help.
I'm wondering how do I know if I have good digestion?
Okay. So first off, we should not be gassy all the time. You know, I just, are you a member of Healthy Tribe?
I am.
Okay. Did you see the video I posted with Bear Grylls?
No, I haven't.
Look that up. Go find it. It's on there. The video's been all over Twitter. I've seen it a couple places. It was actually on a BBC show. And it's Bear Grylls, and he's just outside, and he's talking to this other guy, and I have no idea who the other guy is. And Bear Grylls starts talking about the way he eats. And he says, oh, yeah, steak. I just love to cook big, big piles of steak with eggs, a whole bunch of eggs, and some honey. And I thought, wow, he happened to mention honey in there specifically. And the other guy looks at him and says, well, you don't eat like that every night, do you? He says, oh, yeah, steak every day, lots of it. And no veggies, hardly any veggies or fruit. And the guy actually says, you just made the statement that's going to get you canceled. That struck me as, is that how screwed up we are now? You say something about the way you eat and you're going to get canceled over it. But at the end, he talks about how much better he feels. Oh, and the guy asked him at the end, he says, well, okay, what about legumes? Or maybe he says pulses. I forget. They're both basically the same thing. We're talking about beans. And Bear Grylls says, oh, no, beans are awful. And you're always gassy. And the guy says, well, is that a bad thing? And he says, yeah, it's a bad thing. It's a pretty good indication that your gut's not very happy with you. Really, when you eat good and your digestion is right, almost no gas whatsoever. None. It's almost non-existent. And what little bit you have tends to not smell. That's a really good sign that you've got good digestion. If you have really smelly gas all the time, you've got dysbiosis. So that's one sign. The best way I can explain what your digestion should look like at the end is look up what's called the Bristol stool chart. BIRSTOL, Bristol stool chart, because you'll get pictures and descriptions. It'll tell you exactly what your stool should look like when your digestion is right. And when it's not right, it will give you some ideas of what might be going wrong.
Okay. And I thought I was eating pretty decent. Not super
well, you may
clean,
be.
But, I don't do a lot of vegetables and what have you.
Yeah, you may be, but a lot of times we have to do some additional work on digestion. It took me probably 3 or 4 years after I was eating right to get my digestion right. Sometimes I'd get it right, and then it would, whatever problem I had would come back. I wouldn't digest fat properly. It took me a while. I mean, I went through multiple kits. Now I feel like my digestion is just about perfect almost all the time. I mean, it's really, and I haven't taken supplements for my digestion in probably a couple of years now. And everything just works fine. But it wasn't automatic. If we get dysbiosis, that can sometimes be tough to get rid of.
Okay. Well, I've been thinking about doing the gut kit, and I guess it's time to do it.
Yeah, if you're still having negative digestive symptoms, now to kind of target it better, you could do a discovery call with Lauren, and because we have lots of kits. We have some that, if people have poor stomach acid, that wasn't really my problem. Mine was poor fat digestion. Sometimes we have SIBO. So we have different kits. And if you want to kind of narrow it down to which kit's going to do you the most good, Lauren can help you with that in just the free discovery call.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds like a plan. You already answered my second question, so that's all I got.
There you go. All right. That's all I need today. And now we are going to wrap this up. We will see you back here tomorrow for the Power Hour. Pretty normal schedule this week. I think we have a guest on Wednesday. I'm just not sure who. But all the shows are happening this week. There's a new commentary, should be on the app from this morning. I already have most of my commentary written for the rest of the week, so should be no problem getting those all done this week. What else we got going on? We've got the sales, so come on over and help us out in the store. The closer we can get to last year's numbers, that would be a good thing. So we could use your help. All right. Oh, we have Forrest Pritchard on Wednesday. That's good. We haven't had him back in a while. Forrest is all about regenerative farming and building the soil, and that should be a great conversation. All right, we are all done. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Be safe, be profitable, be fit and healthy. Always do the hard work and master the journey.